Oh, okay. LSU versus FSU. The corn dog versus White Tonto. Is this going to be a good game? Vegas thinks, though. 3-point line on this game. LSU versus Florida State. Two big-name programs, both of which currently down. At least that's the perception, right? Florida State's been down for a while. The Willie Taggart hire really set them back after Jimbo Fisher left for Texas A&M. You have Mike Norvell in there now. It does kind of seem like Florida State is, sort of, not like a sharp upward trajectory, but it does seem like they're slowly getting better. LSU's a little stranger or harder to figure out. Ed Orgeron wins the national title in 2019 with one of the best teams of my lifetime, definitely the best offense of my lifetime. And then they just fall on their face. Not 1 year in a row, but 2 years in a row. In 2020 and 2021, just absolute disaster really for LSU. And the reason why it was considered so disastrous, not just their record, but their record considering the amount of talent that's on that team. Well, that talent is still there. That talent is still there. Now, they do have some question marks. I'm not convinced on their running game. We'll see what they do at quarterback. Is it going to be Jaden Daniels or Garrett Nussmeier? Probably going to be Jaden Daniels. Wouldn't be surprised if we saw both of them, but my guess as far as who starts right now, I guess I'd probably go with Jaden Daniels there. But there's a lot of talent on that LSU team. Florida State is definitely outmatched in this game from a roster standpoint, from just an overall talent perspective. Right? So what, if any, advantages does Florida State have in this game against LSU? Well, they've played a game, and LSU hasn't, and I do think that's an advantage. How much of an advantage, I think, depends on the team and the program and some other things, but I think it's obviously an advantage to have played versus having not played, right? There's a reason NFL owners and coaches want preseason games. The players don't necessarily want them, especially the starters. But you find out more about your team in the first quarter of an actual game, probably than you do all fall camp combined, right? So there is some advantages, and you find out not only what your team does well, but maybe what they don't do well. You also can try to start to formulate, okay, of the things we are not doing well, which are correctable, and which are just a talent issue, and we need to try to maybe find another way to overcome that, right? So I do think Florida State has an advantage there. They've played a game. LSU is not. The only other real advantage I see for Florida State in this game is coaching consistency. They've at least had the same head coach and mostly the same staff for 3 or 4 years now, whereas LSU is starting over under brand new head coach Brian Kelly and a completely overhauled staff. Now, it's not like Brian Kelly just fell off the turnip truck. I mean, the guy's been coaching at Power 5 level for 12 years at Notre Dame, and one of the best programs year in and year out up there at Notre Dame. And we can say whatever we want about Notre Dame or their schedule or not being a con, whatever. The point is, Brian Kelly was at Notre Dame for 12 years, made national title games, made playoff games. Averaged 11 wins a year for 12 years. Not easy to do. So, not saying that Brian Kelly doesn't know what he's doing. I'm just saying it's a brand new coaching staff at LSU, right? Now, what advantages does LSU have over Florida State? Well, the surprise factor at quarterback, I guess. Florida State doesn't know which way they're going to go, and I don't know really how much that matters, but maybe. Obviously, Brian Kelly thinks that's an advantage because in a press conference this week, when asked about the quarterback situation, he said, we know who's starting. We've told the guys and the team. But we're not going to announce it because we feel like that gives us a tactical advantage over Florida State. So whether we believe that or not, obviously Brian Kelly believes it gives them an advantage, right? Overall talent, obvious advantage for LSU. And two places in particular when you look at LSU, their wide receiver room and their defensive line. We'll start with the defensive line in particular because if you were going to point to a weak spot on Florida State's team, particularly on offense, it would be that offensive line. And Florida State fans really know that. I don't even think a Florida State fan would argue with me about that. And LSU's defensive line is no joke. They've got NFL players on that defensive line, and everyone is talented across their defensive front. That's a huge potential mismatch in favor of LSU. Flip the ball around to the other side. LSU offensively, they have one of the best wide receiver rooms in the country. In the country. I know Ohio State gets the nod for that, and deservedly so, but, you know, LSU might have the best receiver in the country, and that Dijon Booty. Could be. He's a hell of a corn dog, that Booty. Yep. I got distracted. And Florida State's DBs, while not terrible, I don't know how they hold up against this group of wide receivers. I really don't. Now, that particular advantage in favor of LSU could potentially be neutralized or maybe at least minimalized if the quarterback situation doesn't pan out at LSU. I just have a hard time believing that's going to be the case. I think even if Jaden Daniels gets to start and looks terrible in the first quarter, I think they're going to then roll with Garrett Nussmeier. And I think the odds of both of those quarterbacks not being very good are pretty low. I think it's pretty low. I want to think in my mind that Florida State has a real opportunity or chance in this game. Mostly because it's the only game on Sunday night, and I'm going to watch it. And so, therefore, I want it to be a good game. But the more I think about this game, the more I look into it, the more I read about these two teams and what some other people have to say about the matchups in this game and things like that. It's becoming almost impossible for me to envision a way in which Florida State can win this game. I think the only way that happens is if LSU's quarterback situation is a complete fail. Times two like Nussmeier and Daniels. And I just don't think that's the case. I mean, let's not forget, they had a third quarterback there who was in the running to start. And he quit the team 2 or 3 weeks ago, which means Brian Kelly must have told him, you're not going to be the guy, meaning he's comfortable with one of those two, if not both of those two. I just find it hard to believe they're both going to fall on their face, especially against an overmatched Florida State team. Now, down the road, when LSU plays some teams with some better defenses, Texas A&M, Alabama in particular, your Arkansas of the world, whatever, then maybe we'll see it start to catch up with these LSU QBs. But I just think the talent advantage that LSU has over Florida State, combined with the fact that it's basically a home game for LSU, this game's being played in New Orleans, there'll be a lot more corn dog fans there than there will Florida State fans. I honestly just don't see a way that Florida State could pull this out. Now, LSU is favored by 3. That's the line this morning anyway on DraftKings. LSU by 3. I would lay to 3 points. I think LSU wins this game 7-10 points minimum. Minimum. I would probably bet LSU minus 6. I would probably bet LSU minus 6. Now, luckily, I don't have to. They're only a 3-point favorite. So anyway, as usual, don't bet on anybody just because I say so. It's just my opinion. I've been wrong before. I once picked Georgia to beat South Carolina. In fact, it was back in 2019. I actually picked Georgia to beat South Carolina. And it didn't happen, so I have been wrong before. But anyway, man, White Tonto into corn dog. Maybe it'll be good for a half at least. I'll be watching it either way. Hell, I'm probably going to live stream it, to be honest. Is that Sunday night? Yeah, I'll probably live stream that game. Will I? Yeah, I probably will. I probably will live stream that game. Anyway, that's my thoughts. Florida State versus LSU. Click back. I've done several of these preview and prediction videos for the big games coming up this weekend, starting with the ones tonight. I did the Tennessee game. I did West Virginia Pitt. I did Penn State Purdue. All those games are tonight. Knocked out the Sunday game just now. Got a list of Saturday games I need to do too. Utah and Florida's on that list. Notre Dame and Ohio State. Georgia and Oregon. Georgia and Oregon hype and hate video coming tomorrow, Friday. Yep, the hype and hate video comes every Friday during the season. And you'll have to tune in tomorrow to see what Uncle Lou thinks Oregon's chances are of actually competing with your defending national champions. But since you watched this video all the way to the end, I'll give you a hint. It's approximately 0.